All right, we are starting another episode of the Music Retail Show. And Richard, I was actually just sitting here thinking that, is this going to be the last episode of the summer season? I mean, I know we've got some stuff lined up for after September 20th.
When does
September 20th. I'm just sitting here thinking this might be the last episode of the official summer.
I think September 24th.
24th. We've got a really cool.
So that'll be the
guest.
fall.
Yeah.
That'll be the fall one.
That'll be the first.
Should we
fall
announce
one.
who the fall one is?
Well, yeah. No, we should not. Our producer just said no.
Okay. Well, we're gonna do it before it's over, and he'll just have to clip it out.
Yeah. Well, I'm afraid I would get the name wrong. But anyways. I guess maybe we're still trying to line stuff up. Our people are talking to their people.
Yeah.
And things
that
like
makes
that.
me feel important when I say that.
Anyway, so we've got a great guest here,
yes.
a local friend of ours, part of the family here in Nashville, Tennessee. We got Scott Marquart.
Scott, awesome to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
With
I'm excited to hang
StringJoy.
with you. Yeah.
StringJoy, great company that we've all come to know and find out about over the last year or so, and we're excited you're here.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be here.
But before we jump in, we have to talk about something cool.
Okay.
He doesn't know about this, but he's going to know about it. And that's we've got these new mic stands.
Oh, these are new.
Yeah,
these are
brand
brand new
new.
from Kevin over at Hercules. Sent us a love package. And
Yeah.
that doesn't sound
Did you just say
very
love
good.
package?
Let's rephrase that. What can we call it?
I don't know, but love package sounds
Man,
like
I
I need
like
to get
that.
one in the mail.
It's an upgrade over a care
Wow,
package.
I need one sent to my house.
That's right.
But anyways, he sent us a gift package.
Yes.
Is that better?
Yeah, gift package sounds great.
Yeah, man, I feel awkward now.
All right.
But these are awesome stands. So all the music stores out there, everybody listening, and the people watching, take a look at Hercules. They make great guitar stands, music stands, mic stands, everything. Great company. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. But anyways, let's dive in before I say something stupid.
Yeah, I don't know, but we'll see what other love packages we can find during this episode.
Wow.
You know, but I'll second that. Just these are great. If you need guitar stands, kick drum, we were even saying kick drum stands, any kind of stands. But
I think
as
I
far
may
as,
take one home.
Yeah, but as far as the podcast, these work absolutely perfect for the mics, and we appreciate that. So, but man,
I think he felt sorry for us because our other ones didn't match.
Yeah, I know.
So, anyways, let's quit talking about it. Scott, we're glad you're here.
I'm
we're
glad
talking
that you have
about
these
you,
stands.
man.
These look perfect.
Scott, what do you think about the stands?
I think they're great. It'd be good for a snare, good for a kick, any like, tight place.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. Speaking of tight places, StringJoy, great
What a
company.
segue.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
We're
Something
batting like
that.
zero today.
But
Yeah.
that's okay. I guess you have to.
It's early. We'll warm up. We'll get some razzles
That's right.
in there. It'll be perfect.
That's
Yeah.
right. Hey, so StringJoy is a great company. I actually learned through a mutual friend of ours, Charlton, who's been on the show multiple times. But man, it's been a pleasure to meet you and get to know what you guys do. So we're really excited about diving into what your company is, where you came from, and
I'm excited to talk about it. Likewise,
where
I mean,
it's
it's
going.
so cool, all the community that we have here in Nashville of different guitar builders or I'm not sure what you guys would call yourselves, guitar restoration. And you know, you do everything, so to speak. And pedal builders and all that. It's so cool to know everybody and get to meet more folks. What a cool city this is.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah, there is a lot going on here. I know there's a lot of, startup companies. You know, it's fascinating what people are coming up with. So, and it is a pleasure to be around here in Music City where you get to kind of experience a lot of it firsthand.
Yeah, I agree. I think the economy's doing well and everybody's kind of getting adventurous and hopping out. And although you've been doing it for a while, so why don't you share with us a little bit of the history of StringJoy?
Absolutely.
Because to be honest with you, I'm a drummer, so my questions are going to be from a different world.
Totally.
But when you talk about strings, I don't get very excited, but I got real excited because we have a mutual friend tell me how excited you get about strings and how much they mean to you. And I'm into people that are passionate in what they do, so I'm excited for that reason.
Totally.
I know strings are a huge part of a guitar player's arsenal. So tell me a little bit about the history of the company and what you got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a great way to start us off because, I think it's kind of embedded in the name. We want to make strings that make people excited and make people happy and make them want to pick up their guitar. And I get emails from people all the time that are like, I put on your strings and I didn't put my guitar down for 8 hours, and that's what we want to create, right? Strings have existed as long as guitars have, of course, but I think for most of that time, they've always just been something of a commodity. You go and you grab a pack. I think people probably view them like toothpaste. You look at the big wall and you're like, I don't know if these all look different. Maybe they're all the same. I have no real idea.
Yeah.
But you grab whatever it is, and that's what you use. We want to be a little bit different about that. So basically, StringJoy started 5 years ago. Initially, as just a side project for me. I'd been a player and did a lot of recording work and all sorts of little stuff, gigging around town and such. And I'm a nerd, so every part of my guitar rig, I was, whether it's pedals or amps or like my pickups and my guitar or whatever, I was trying to kind of customize everything.
Yeah.
And at some point along the line, probably when I was 18 or 19, I started wondering about my strings. I was playing, I think, the Dario at the time, 10 to 46 or whatever. So I started messing around with a wound third because I was playing Gibsons and the G was just never quite right for me. I popped on a wound 20 and that worked really well. And then I started screwing around. I put a 48 on the bottom and that worked really well. Basically, I was like, there's kind of a whole world here that I can't really access. So for me, what I had to do that back in the day was buy 2 or 3 different sets of strings or try to find some singles from different stores or whatever, mix them and match them and make the sets that I wanted, which was pretty expensive, even to get cheap strings to buy 3 sets to make 1 set.
Yeah.
That's kind of a pain. So, years later, after college, I worked in artist management in the music biz and then got out of that and knew I wanted to do something a little bit closer to, supporting the players themselves. And so I was kind of thinking, what problems do I have? What itches do I that I can scratch? And I for months, kind of looked around my whole life and tried to see what there was that I could fix. And then finally it dawned on me. I was like, well, this thing that I've been doing with guitar strings for forever. I can't find any custom strings. I wonder if there's any other crazy people like me out there that like to do this and have the same kind of struggle that I have. So initially, I just kind of started up an e-commerce website. I had a little bit of experience in website development through what I was doing in the music industry. Kind of started that up, and then I contacted a guitar string manufacturer and was like, hey, man, I have like $500. I was bartending at the time. It's like, can you sell me like a dozen of every gauge that you make? And I just want to kind of like put this up and see if it solves anybody else's problems. If nothing else, I'll get to screw around with a bunch of guitar strings.
Yeah.
So he did, and I sold through those 12 and ordered another 12. And really, it was just like, the smallest dollar amounts back in the day. I'd get one order and be elated. But, pretty quickly we kind of started picking up a little bit of steam. A lot smaller than we are now, but, that first month we did about $1,000 in sales, which to me, I was like, wow, that's,
For guitar strings, that's a lot.
Yeah, for doing it in my attic, it was like, that's not bad, right? So, we started gaining steam on the custom side. And along the way, what was interesting was, I started getting really into these actual strings themselves that I was getting from the manufacturer. So I'd say like, hey, could you make this 52 a little different? Make it with a thinner core? Like, why did the ends of these look kind of sloppy? There's like some wire hanging out here. Can we like break that off? All these little things. I got really, really particular with him. For a while, he played ball. And then pretty quickly, he was like, this is stupid. I'm done with all your details. I'll sell you a couple of machines. You can make them however the heck you want to make them.
Really?
Yeah. And, I was like, okay, yeah, heck yeah. I'd love to make my own
So
strings.
he offered to sell you the machines.
Yeah, not everything he had, but a couple of older ones needed a little bit of work.
Wow.
I got a small loan, bought those, and then, kind of set up shop.
Yeah.
And what was interesting was I'd become a geek enough already about strings that I already, he gave me some training and I was able to kind of already start about where he was. But I had this long list of things that I wanted to improve about my strings that I couldn't get him to do or anybody else to do, in terms of the accuracy of how they're wound, how thick they are exactly. If you pull a guitar string that's like a 46 from pretty much any manufacturer, it might be a 455 at one end of the string. It might be a 465 at another end of the string. Your guys back here that cut nut slots, I'm sure, have this issue all the time where you cut something for a 46 and then, this 46 is a little bit too big somehow. So I wanted to get really, really, specific about that, for our strings. A 46 should be, 0.0460 or at most 0.0461, right? Yeah. So things like that, things like the breaking off of the twist, things like exactly the angle that we're winding the string at so that you have an even amount of mass across the entire string. All this stuff I was able to put into practice,
Let's go back and talk about the gauges because I find that interesting. And I don't want you to... we're not talking negative of a manufacturer, so I don't want to come across like that's what I'm asking. But do you think the reason why some people do that is just because they don't have time? They've got 10,000 sets they got to make. They've got a lot going on, and so you have the luxury of being a little more meticulous,
Absolutely, yeah.
and truly a little more custom. Where the other strings are great strings, there's a lot of great manufacturers out there, but you have just a little bit different angle. Is that accurate?
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, when we got into it, because we were starting so small, which is kind of atypical in the string world, it's usually huge companies, we were able to look at, like, to me, I'm like, if somebody just wants strings that work fine, there's a million options for them, right? So if we want anybody to play our strings, they have to be as good as possible. Like, I'm not making any, when I'm looking at a decision, I'm never picking like, well, this will get us about 90% of the way there in half the time. You know, that can't be what I do. I have to make the best stuff, or else go play somebody else's strings.
Yeah,
There's tons of them out there, right?
Yeah.
So you're exactly right. You know, for us, it takes a lot longer to make a string than a lot of the big guys. Depending on who you're looking at, it might be 10 times as long to make a string.
Now, go through the process of the gauge difference from start to finish, and how you measure that and what that process is, because I find that very intriguing.
Yeah, so the actual like finish gauge comes from two different things. One is the combination of core wire and wrap wire that you're using, which there's, you know, take a 46. There's a couple different ways to make that. You can use a thinner core and a thicker wrap wire, a thicker core and a thinner wrap wire. Little aside, back in the day, back in the 60s, what they would pretty much always do is use the thickest core possible with really thin wrap wire, because your nickel wrap is a lot more expensive than your steel core.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you'd have strings that were really stiff and just didn't play well, but to them, it was 100% cost. You know, as long as it got to that 46 size, that's all that mattered.
Yeah.
Right. Where, you know, a lot of your tone's more coming from your wrap wire. But so that's number one. You can make different choices there that everything will end up being the same size, but it's going to play super different and sound different. The second thing is how much torque is being applied to the wrap wire in the process. I'm getting nerdy on you, I know.
No. That's what we want.
So if you look at something like we'll just keep using a 46 as an example. If you add up the wrap wire and the core wire that goes into that, you'll get 47, because you want to apply torque to the wrap wire to kind of compress it down tight around that core wire. Exactly how much torque you're applying makes the difference as to exactly how thick that finished string is going to be at each point in the process. A lot of the old systems, and some that are still used by even some larger manufacturers, basically use this kind of janky system of pulleys that torque things down. And so that's why you'll see across a finished string differences in that thickness. Now, they're minute. That string will still resonate. But, you know, if you picture a string, you know, an ideal string in physics is going to be, you know, perfectly project your waveform of whatever note you're playing, right? When you have differences in thickness, or really anything else, differences in mass across that
different
string,
sound waves,
it's going to slightly impede that sound wave. You'll still get an E, but it might not be, you know, the truest
E-ish.
Right, yeah. And, you know, no matter what, a physical product will never be exactly the same as a computer model. It'll never be perfect, but we try to get it as perfect as possible.
Is this the science that's behind the ever elusive G string? Is that what's going on?
That's a piece of it. Yeah. So like the reason the G string's so hard is because when you get thicker with just like a plain steel string, just like plain steel wire, the thicker that string is across a certain scale length, the less it wants to behave like an ideal string in physics. That's why you need things like wound strings, so that ultimately you have a thinner core wire that's, you know, doing a lot of that work rather than just a nice thick bar. If you took like a 22 plane, like a huge plane, that on like a 25.5-inch scale isn't gonna perform perfectly in terms of, you know, actually representing the waveform that it's supposed to. If you stretch it out to like a 10-foot scale length, it'd do great.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of balancing.
So why doesn't everybody just do a wound G string then?
Yeah, there's a few reasons. For one, a lot of players, I think, don't find them super flexible. You know, it's when you're bending a lot on that G, that can be a little bit harder. We overcome that by using a thinner one. I think a lot of players are used to seeing a really, really thick wound third.
Yeah.
That is a little bit harder. Something like a wound 18 or a wound 20 is fine. But then cost is another big thing as well.
Okay,
You know,
that's
a wound
a big
string
deal.
costs way more than a plain string. Plain strings are just wire twisted around a ball end.
Gotcha.
Ultimately, you know, the wound strings are really the art form that, you know, that any string company is trying to produce.
Okay, man, it's always interesting because you just that's always been an issue for guitar players.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you're always tuning it up, tuning it down. You kind of sharpen that G string a little bit, so when you play the whole chord, it sounds all in tune.
Yep.
But when you play it next to another note, you can feel it slightly off. And
So we did an experiment on our YouTube channel a couple weeks ago where we made a set of all plain steel strings, but they were the same gauges that you'd normally see. So it was a 10 to 46 set, but everything's just a big, steel
Really?
bar.
Wow, that's interesting.
And so what's interesting when you hear that, once you get down to like that plain 46, it sounds like a bell, like a gong, because it can't. The people at home probably can't hear me doing this. But it can't really transmit that. But what's interesting is when you start at the 10 on the top and then you work your way down, you can hear more of those kind of gong-like overtones the thicker you get. The 10 and the 13 are fine. The 17, you start to hear it a little bit. The 26 plain, it's definitely there. The 36 and 46 are unplayable beasts.
Yeah.
But you can kind of, if you hear that demo, you can kind of see where those things start to happen around the G. It's definitely usable, but that's where you start to, cross that line a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I noticed that on Instagram too. You actually kind of threw that out about people kind of giving testimony to the whether you use a wound third or straight third, and I was surprised at how many people got involved in the conversation. I guess it's a big deal for guitar players.
It can be, and we love playing thirds too. It's all what works for players. That's definitely our thing. Is whatever it is that you want to try, we're absolutely for it. We try to be kind of agnostic with those things, but we do want to provide those choices so that people can check them out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you ever get afraid that getting so much into it pigeonholes you to where you can't grow to this huge company? You have to stay a certain size because that's what you're limited to?
Yeah.
Or is that not even... you don't even want that to be a concern.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of always the challenge, and it's something that we do, always look to overcome. We grow about 70% year on year right now. Wow. So we're constantly adding new machines, hiring new people, getting new people to wind strings, and always when you're growing, that's a concern of how do I keep this quality consistent? If I had one guy on one machine making things all day, it's going to be pretty much that same way all the time. So we definitely have to implement a lot of processes internally in order to keep that the same. But in terms of, overall scale for the company, it might be impossible to really, beat D'Addario or somebody like that. That's a $500 million company. But that's not really our goal. I think there's a lot of room to grow and still be, a little bit smaller than those guys.
Yeah.
There's so many string companies. It's wild. And a lot of them have been around for a long time. GHS has been around since the 60s. DR is one of the newer ones, and they started in 89. So, there's a lot of longevity with string brands. So, I mean, for me, it's a little bit less, do I want this company to be worth $500 million, and a little bit more, can we, get to a really great size that doesn't allow us to compromise any of our ideals, continue making great quality products, and then just continue serving our players for a long, long time to come.
Now, once upon a time, there used to be, or at least it was said, because I come from the retail world, that people would say, well, there's only 2 or 3 string manufacturers, and they make everybody's string. Talk about that.
Yeah. So that comes from a time where there was a little bit of truth to that. Way back in the day, you had Darko that was making strings, which is basically like the D'Addario family started Darko. They sold it to Martin. And
which was under Martin, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then they started J. D'Addario in the 70s. So they were always making strings, under one brand or another. Initially, like Labella was always making stuff for the Iomari family, and they were making a lot of stuff for a lot of different people. Those were kind of some of the core too back in the 60s. You had Fender bought VC Squire, so they were making strings too. I don't know if they private labeled or not. And then you had Gibson making stuff as well. So a lot of the brands that you hear today, almost every brand that I'm aware of started off having somebody else make their strings for some period of time. Even if that's a year or two, or it might be 20 years in some cases. You had companies like Mapes get into it in the late 70s. The DeQuistos got into it, who I own a number of their machines now. So it kind of ballooned. I think around the 70s was the point that you see a lot of companies like your Ernie Balls and GHSs and people like that really start to kind of make a name for themselves in manufacturing. So all that is to say, there was a point probably in the 50s and 60s that was fairly true. Ooh, Black Diamond, sorry. There's so many. Black Diamond was making stuff back then as National String in Jersey, but there was a point that there were a lot fewer, and there's always been an element of new companies pop up, getting somebody else to make their strings for a while, and then eventually they buy their own machines. Yeah. But it's interesting, that myth persists to this day. I have people all the time that are like, ain't but one company makes all the strings in the world.
There's the string mafia.
Yeah, well,
they own them all.
There's something of that, but that's a different thing. But the thing is, when you look at it, like guitar string machines are expensive, but they're not insanely expensive. Like
Yeah.
not so expensive. You don't have to invest $100 million to make a guitar string plant.
Yeah.
You know, so. There's always a point, I think, for most companies that you're like, we need to bring this in house if we want to be able to make our own stuff and, you know, get our costs down and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
So these days there are, to my knowledge, I can think of 13 companies that make electric and acoustic guitar strings in the U.S. right now.
Okay, so there's more than I thought.
Yeah, fewer than there are brands.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes.
And a lot of those earlier companies, you know, Fender sold off their plant forever ago. Gibson shut down the Elgin plant in the mid 2000s at some point. So some of those guys stopped making them, and then, you know, other companies make those brand names now.
Great.
So there's some truth to it in that, you know, there's not nearly as many manufacturers as there are brands. And for me, you know, when I'm on the inside and I know who makes things and who doesn't, it's super annoying how many brands there are out there that are like, these strings are the finest quality strings anyone's ever made. And I'm like, I know where you're getting them from, and I know they're not making them special for you.
Yeah.
They're just the same things that, you know, they use in their regular package
Well, everybody
sets.
has the best strings. Just
Exactly.
ask them.
Yeah.
And you know, honestly, and I don't mean to vent or anything, but I've got a lot of friends in the string industry, and I've seen a number of their plants. And, you know, all of them, you go to their website, and they're like, the finest quality strings in the world. And then, you know, I get there and I talk to their winders. I'm like, hey, you know, what do you, why do you do it that way? Like, you see that kind of wobble that's on that bass string? Do you ever worry about that? You know, that's something we don't like to see. And then the answer is always the same, like, oh, well, no customers ever complained. You know, and you're like, the finest quality string.
Yeah. So I
the
guess
world.
my reason for bringing that up
Yeah.
is that does that just leave a ton of room for you to build the highest quality string
I think so.
truly in the industry?
Yeah, I think so. There certainly, I think every company, you know, wants to make a great product, but it's always like with anything. If you look at like a recording interface, for $100, I can get a recording interface that'll get me like 80% of the way to like a great studio record. To get 90%, I might have to spend $2,000. To get 95%, it might be $10,000. To get to 100%, I've got to like build a whole
Go buy a
studio,
Neve console.
retreat it. Yeah, like get all of my electricity, you know, isolated. You know, there's always that point that like to get a little bit better, it starts to compound and it starts to be quite a bit more. And that's definitely the case with strings. You know, you can make a pretty darn good set of strings, sell it for $5. You know, ours sell at 12, and that's to get, you know,
Even
better, but it's not like it's like 4 times better. You know, it's hard to quantify in that way.
On your website, you actually use the word old school. So
Yeah.
you're not necessarily incorporating anything new in the science. You're using proven old school science. You're just building it correctly.
So yes and no. Yeah, there's definitely some new things we've integrated in terms of how we've modified our machinery to work, and in terms of, you know, what our core to cover ratios and all that sort of things are.
Yeah.
But in terms of why they're really better, it's an old school approach of just we make them more slowly. We take more time.
Yeah.
You know, we take that time that other companies couldn't because they couldn't meet their quotas. You know, it becomes a very different game at that scale.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, it's nothing more than really, really caring about a thing and trying to make it great.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Very cool.
What percentage of the guitar players out there do you find really notice this? Because you know, there's probably, and I'm making up numbers here, 80% of the guitar players out there, they don't care.
Sure.
Give me a pack of strings. So what is that number? I mean, because you're catering to a small market, but you're trying to open up that market to a large market and expose the truth to a lot of players to obviously grow your market share. So how do you combat that? I mean, because some people just say, I don't care. How much is it?
Yep.
The price is what they're concerned with. I've been playing this brand for 20 years. Why should I play your brand? And then when you talk about the technology that you're being accurate with on it, and they're like, everybody says that.
Yep.
So how do you deal with that?
Totally. So, I mean, it's hard to quantify industry-wide because, you know, we only get to see the people that do give us a shot, for sure. That said, anecdotally, it's absolutely shocking how many people are willing to give another manufacturer a chance.
Which is crazy because brand loyalty is a big deal.
It is,
in
you know,
strings.
and when I got into it, I was thinking, and other people that I asked that had experimented with strings before always said, you know, you can't peel people away from, you know, Ernie and the Dario and the other huge guys in the industry. And that's not been our experience at all. We've found that, you know, really like showing them what our value is that we offer and the level of customer service we can offer and the quality of our product gets a lot of people intrigued, and they're absolutely willing to try it. We see a greater than 50% metric on people that try our strings becoming regular like full-time users of our
Really?
strings. Yeah, which
Really?
is one of the most important numbers in business to me.
Sure.
It'll never be 100%. You look at like a lot of e-commerce clothing and stuff, and reorder rates are like 3% of people that place an order are going to order again. So to be above 50 makes us
It's
really
amazing.
happy,
Impressive.
And it's not that the other 50 are. We almost never hear anything negative. It's almost always like these were definitely really good. I get sets for $4 a pack, and so
comes back to
it
price.
might just make sense there, and that's fine. Not everybody's going to be able to make that jump.
Yeah.
But we've had no struggles, in finding people, and once we share it with them and they get to play things on their guitar, they're generally pretty elated with it, which is exciting.
Okay. That's
Have
interesting.
you, and of course, growing up, I played Ernie Ball all the time. That's it. I think I bought, I don't know how many packs of Ernie Ball strings I bought over the years from when I started playing. And
In my parents' basement, I still have. I collected all my old D'Addario packages because they had
With all
those
the
player points.
Yeah.
I've got just a box full of them there, which is crazy. So I'm the same way.
Well, and loyalty, like I said, loyalty was always a big deal because when I walked into a store, I always saw the racks of all the different brands, and even Dean Markley back then.
Mine was just loyalty to Ernie Ball because they gave us free shirts and hats.
there you go.
So when I worked
That
retail as a drummer, I was like, I don't give a crap about strings.
Yeah.
But I need a
But I
shirt.
like T-shirts.
I need a hat.
Yeah, but a lot of those companies relied a lot on artist endorsements.
Yes, yeah.
Have you done that? You've gotten yourself in with artists
We
that
do
really
a bit
buy
of it.
into your strings?
Yeah, we do a bit of it. We have a shocking number of artists that secretly play our stuff because they're endorsed by one of the big guys and are like, I like yours better,
That's
but
funny.
they pay me X number of dollars a quarter.
Yeah, that's
we see
funny.
a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I try to only really throw my weight into something that I know I can win.
Yeah.
And something like that, almost everyone's kind of bought. Like, and no matter what happens, Stevie Ray Vaughan never will have played our strings. No matter what we do, you can't
could
undo
start that lore out there
Yep.
that he actually played your strings.
Yep.
That'd be great.
One thing I think is funny, and it's interesting because people always, it's natural to look to big players and be like, what do they use? If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. One thing people I think miss is that a lot of the difference between different brands of strings has to do with longevity of the set of strings more than anything. And so when you look at a lot of those big companies that'll send an artist hundreds of sets of strings, that artist has 12 guitars they use at a show, and they have a tech that restrings them all before every single show. So at most, one of their sets of strings is going to be played for 3 songs. And the truth is, a lot of those big guys, their strings sound great for 3 songs. It's the 4th song that they start to fall apart on. And so for those big guys, that's perfect. That's absolutely sufficient. When you're absolutely just blowing through them like that, it's not really a big deal. Whereas for other players that like to get a couple of gigs out of a set of strings or longer, it's a very different game. So I've always found that kind of fascinating. That for the regular player, it's a totally different thing than the artist. Now, it's not to say we don't have a lot of artists that still just value just the straight up tone and sound and feel of our strings in its own right. But yeah, for me, that's not the big move. A lot of those guys, I think they probably have 20,000, 30,000 artists. That all get hundreds of sets of strings, whenever they want.
It's a good way for you to go broke as a small
sure
company.
Is. Yeah. And it makes one wonder, when you look at those big guys that, and I don't want to talk bad of anyone, but that are sending out hundreds of sets of strings to anybody that starts touring in a band, it makes you wonder how much those strings really cost them to make in the first place. And who's really eating the price at the end of the day. Because, if all those guys are getting everything for free, that's obviously getting forward down to the consumer's the one that's paying for,
Somebody's got to
Joe
pay
Rockstar to get his free
It's not
strings.
free for everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all, the prices get adjusted so that you can give X number of product away for free. So for us, that's a little bit less the game, I would say. We definitely focus on it, but it's not like our big focus.
So who is some of your main customers? I mean, or some of the main players that use your product?
Yeah, so I mean, my favorite two, I think. Oh, I shouldn't say that. No, two of the ones I'm most excited for are Ariel Posen and Joey Landreth that are like playing really amazing slide stuff. I bring them up because they both play really unique sets, and that's how they found us. They found us just as customers before they were. Their star was rising in the guitar world. Joey plays 19s for slide. He plays a 19 to 64 set. Ariel plays a 17 to 64 set. So folks like that I really like to talk about because it's just they found us because they needed something really
Let's
unique
have
and nobody else
strong
could do
hands
it.
for that 64.
They do, and slide really helps too.
See,
you
as
know,
a drummer, I
for
know
sure.
that the 64 is heavy gauge. But anyways,
Oh
go
yeah.
ahead. I had to throw that in.
But for us, we really, in our marketing and everything, you don't see us really focusing on like, this big guy uses them, so you should too. It's absolutely more like, what are your unique needs? Here's how our strings can make those better for you because your needs are a little bit different.
strings,
Exactly.
everything, yeah.
But do you
custom
even
stuff.
do you even need to worry about it? I mean, seriously.
In terms of artist stuff?
Yeah,
I try not to
the
really.
big
I kind of
picture,
let
because,
people come to us.
Because it seems like, from what I see and what I've read, your niche is just putting out a good quality product, caring about the product, and servicing the customer. Yeah. So outside of that, does it even matter?
I don't think so. That's how I view it exactly. Mm-hmm. It's as long as we do those things right, we continue to see, fairly astronomical growth year over year, which obviously makes me really happy.
Sure. And you guys have been in business how long? 4 or 5
for
years?
5 years now. Yeah.
So
and I mean, that
guys are a
first year we
baby
did, $50,000, $60,000 just in my attic. Right?
But that's big numbers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And now there's 12 employees that work at our shop, and we make everything in house, and it's a very different game. And we'll probably have 20 here in 6 months.
Wow.
So it's a fast growth thing. I think we're managing it really well and keeping that service and that product quality exactly where it needs to be. But what makes me happy is that the growth is not only new customers coming in, of which a lot happen all the time, but people that try the stuff just coming back and becoming loyal customers. That's what proves the model to me.
Yeah.
Anyone can sell something to people the first time if your marketing's really glitzy and all that. But for them to keep using it, especially if it costs a little bit more, it has to be really good.
Yeah. Now, does something that I'm curious about is the way you move product.
Yeah.
Do you have distributors? You do have distributors.
Well, so we sell direct on our website, but then we also sell through retail, obviously. Our distributor is Mass Distro, or MAS Distro. Sayer Payne does that work. He works a lot with pedal brands. He did Klon for a long time, and Greer amps and all those. I was really excited to start working with him. It's been about year and a half or 2 years now that we've been working together, because a lot of the big distributors, again, are kind of repping every brand. So whoever I'm working with on a retail side, they're representing our message and they're taking that out to shops.
Okay.
So I felt like having a distributor that's like selling 10 different brands of strings probably wouldn't really be able to tell our story effectively. So I found Sayer as somebody that was working more in the pedal and amp game. And it was like, you don't have a dog in the string
pedals
fight.
and amps too.
Exactly. Yeah, really, really
very
great stuff.
boutique, very well built stuff.
Yeah, Greer and Alexander and those guys. And so I was like, Spaceman, exactly. Yeah, he's adding more brands all the time. So I was like, you are the messenger that I want. The person that like tells somebody about a Klon Centaur or something, is the person I want them mentioning our strings, and not having another dog in the fight of being like, these are good and so are these, but really just being able to deliver our core message. So they represent us to dealers worldwide, and then we use distributors in other countries as well as needed, just to kind of fill in.
So how do music store, and again, I come from the retail background, so I'm going to talk music stores. How do they find out? Why do they want to carry your product? How do they find out? Should they care? Because I mean, you and I'm sure you understand this. A lot of these guys, they've got so much going on. They've got so much on their table. Why take on another string company?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think a lot of them see it from our marketing. We market pretty aggressively online. So, they hear about it, or they'll hear that their players are already playing our strings. One thing that's nice is because we do sell a lot direct as well, we have players in every market, whether we have a store in that market or not. So a lot of times what happens is, we'll have 20 or 30 players in, say, Portland or something, and then they start to talk up the shops there and let them know that they're playing strings from these guys.
Yeah.
And so then we hear from those guys of like, hey, a bunch of my customers are playing your stuff.
Yeah.
Can I get them here in the shop so that I can get these guys coming back in the shop every 2 weeks and maybe sell them a pedal or something?
Yeah.
Which I love, And,
Sure.
and one thing we've seen is, even though we do sell direct, almost every time this has happened, and we've moved into a retailer for that very reason, those customers start buying from that retailer instead of through us.
Isn't that
which
preferred?
I love. Yeah.
Isn't that preferred? Because I mean, I would just think somebody calls in and they want 6 packs. Or a music store that wants 60 packs.
Sure, yeah.
You'd much rather do that. And
we like them both. We don't mind selling one set to somebody. I get excited by the potential to add any new customer, regardless of the scale, for sure. But it's definitely lovely having a store that we have there, especially because, there's strings. So somebody might break a string and be like, hey, I've got a gig
I need
tomorrow.
some.
Yeah.
And we've expressed things out to people a lot, to get something to them in time for the gig. But it's a lot easier when they can go to the guitar store and pick up another set.
Now, do you sell a lot of singles as well, or through
Online
the music
we do. In the music
Online?
store, largely sets. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, the whole dealer side initially, like I said, we started online. So, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go that way or not. Maybe just stick out with e-commerce. But I've been so glad that we've, been able to get a foothold in that side because Sayer really focuses on quality stores rather than just trying to get into every single store that can possibly take us, So we tend to be more in the stores that, people like to go in and hang out at and talk to the guys that work there and see what pedals they're digging, what strings they're playing, whatever.
Yeah, boutique type shops.
Exactly. Yeah. And we'll look to be in all, eventually all stores, but we're kind of starting there because those are the ones that are just great at spreading the message.
And they're a little more cutting edge.
Totally.
Coolest new brands of guitars, pedals, amps, and such.
Yeah, and we get the people that work there playing our stuff.
Yeah,
and then
that's huge.
That changes absolutely everything. Like you said, with when you were working in retail, if the guy behind the counter is like, I've been really loving these.
Absolutely.
That's what they go with because most people are like, I don't know that I've ever loved strings.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll give that a shot, and for the end retailer, the fact that our strings are a little bit more expensive certainly offers them more margin at the end of the day. It's a great upsell when you're selling anything else, or, it's a pretty easy thing to be like, oh, you're trying those. Why not try these, and make a couple more bucks, which I think really adds up when you look at a store at scale.
Absolutely. Now we're talking guitar strings, but you also have bass strings. Yeah. Tell us about the different lines. You have mandolin, banjo.
We don't have those yet, but we will soon. Yeah, we guitar, bass, and acoustic
I hope you don't
focus.
Because I think, as the joke is, what's 1,000 banjos in the middle of the ocean? A good start. That kind of lets you know my love. No, I'm just joking.
I love that.
I got to watch what I say because, once we record this,
banjo players have feelings too.
You're going to start picketing outside.
Yeah.
So we've got bass strings, guitar strings.
Bass, electric, and acoustic right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of more things to add. We both want to add more lines, under the existing categories that we have. We have a lot of requests for flat wounds. We'll be doing pure nickel round core strings soon that are going to be awesome. But then we've also got people that play pedal steel and banjo and mando and all that sort of stuff. I've got this long master list that I adjust when I get votes from people over email. And it goes right now there's about like 35 rows of different product categories we need to get into. So it's awesome that we have that demand for us. We never like to jump into something until I'm sure that we can do it really, really well. Or else,
I
what's
like
the
that.
point?
I like that.
So like with flat wounds, we've been working on R&D'ing flat wounds for over a year now, and we will come out with them, but
not ready yet.
Yeah, right now they're not bad, but I don't feel confident that I can be like, these are absolutely bar none better than anything else you can get out there.
Gotcha.
And until I can do that, what's the point? Because they'll probably, because we're small and the way that we make stuff, they'll probably be a bit higher priced than the other options. So if they're not better, then what's the point? Just buy those.
Absolutely. I like that.
Obviously 7, 8 string, 9 string sets.
Yeah, we do a lot of that. Yeah, we make up to 90 for electric, and I think soon we'll be extending that to up to 120 for electric, which is a bass low B basically. That's a fun market. When I first started, like I said, I was just kind of doing stuff custom before we started adding our balance sets and a lot of the stuff that we sell more now. But early on, part of the reason that it exploded well was because metal guys started hitting me up and being like, hey, I know you said like custom strings. I see they only go up to 56. And I'm like, oh yeah, what do you need? Like an 80. Like, why? And then they're like, oh, well, I play 8-string guitar, which I wasn't really familiar with, back in 2014. And so, I was like, well, all right, we'll figure it out and we'll make some. So we started, and those guys were the easiest sell, because for the other players, is much more talking about quality and service and all that sort of stuff. Whereas for the 7 and 8 string players, are like, I don't give a damn. I can't get the string that I just need it. Just give it to me. That's fine. So that really was a great vector for us right at the beginning. We've kept a lot of it, but early on, I was like, I guess I got to get really into metal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do you build for any guitar builders?
Yeah. We work with a lot of smaller scale luthiers. As well. Baum Guitars is one of my favorite, but a lot of really small people all around.
Gotcha.
Some larger stuff we've been knocking on the door on this year. Nothing like completely signed yet, but like more of your your middle tier people that are probably putting out 100, 200 guitars a month. And we're looking to expand that program even more. What we're finding right now is it's like the sweetest deal for everybody. We offer a wholesale price to those luthiers. They get, strings that are even better than what they're getting elsewhere for a cheaper price. And then we give them a lot of marketing love on our social media and a lot of those channels, which are pretty large for us. So we're able to get a lot of eyeballs on their guitars. And it works great for us because we're like, check out this amazing guitar. And the guy who builds it will only trust it with our strings.
Wow. Yeah.
So it just works out well for absolutely everybody. So I'm looking to expand that a lot into 2020.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Now, so you said you have about 12 employees right now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're growing how much a year?
About 60 to 70%. Yeah, it was 70% last year. We'll see how Q4 this year goes, whether it'll be 60 or 70. I'm pushing for the 70 again.
Yeah.
So a lot of growth for a small company, but not also too much. We could grow even more if I wanted to just like absolutely dump everything in. We're not like a Silicon Valley startup where we're like we just lose.
But does that
billions
take
of
you
dollars.
away? Does that take you away from actually the art of string making and more into the day-to-day grind of dealing with employees?
Because I deal with my life, I
deal with a lot of employees, and I'll be honest with you. There's some days where I'm like, shoot me, So, I mean, do you worry about that? Do you have somebody helping you with that? What's that look like?
Yeah, so I've got 2 managers underneath me that then manage our operations part, which is everything production, packing, shipping, all that sort of stuff. By production, I mean like actually putting the strings into sets and all that sort of side. And then I have a production manager that manages actually making the strings themselves. So for me, I don't get to make strings too much during the day. I'll get to do a lot of R&D back there. Not every day, but when I can, that's much more my thing, that I'll be really working on something. So everything has my fingerprints on it once it goes into production. Yeah. But I'm not sitting there making strings all day.
Yeah, what do you enjoy most? I mean, on a day when you wake up in the morning and you get to go to work. I mean, because that's what you get to go to work. You get to go to your company, which has got to be an awesome feeling most of the time. Some days I'm sure you're probably like, man, I want to go golfing.
Oh no, I love all of it.
So what is your favorite part of your day?
I enjoy literally all of it. Marketing's always been a passion of mine. That's what I was always doing before I got into this world, and I think that's really benefited us a lot. So I definitely enjoy everything on that angle.
And when you talk marketing, explain exactly.
Totally.
So everybody listening knows the different platforms that you advertise and what you do.
Absolutely. So we do a lot on Facebook and Instagram. That's kind of my superpower. When I started, I was doing a lot of client work for other people, consulting on that side. So a lot of paid traffic that way. We get specific ROI for every dollar we put in. We look for $2.6 to $3 out. So we're able to advertise a lot because we profit when we do, which is also what benefits stores even when we're selling direct and advertising that, because it trickles down.
Yeah.
So that side, we do a lot on YouTube, just in terms of organic stuff, launching videos and stuff, both to inform and educate the consumer and also show people how we make strings. And we just started our channel called the R&D Lab, where we try to make crazy sets like the All-Plane set and stuff like that. So that's really fun. Email marketing is a big thing. We have a blog that we regularly kind of update and publish, and a lot of keywords when you search, we're the first thing that you find. If you're looking for info on a wound third, I think we're like the first 2 things.
Oh wow!
So we really try to be both a push and pull. We both try to educate the customer intentionally by telling them, like, here's something you don't probably know about, but let me tell you about it. But also be the resource that's there for when they're looking about something they heard from somewhere else, like a wound third or something like that.
I've heard through another person that you've mastered the algorithms of Google.
I do okay. I like to think so. Yeah, these days it's all the Google algorithm, the Instagram and Facebook algorithms. Yeah. There's a lot of
that could be
hocus pocus and witchcraft
right
all there to try to make sure everything's being seen there. Instagram was a big channel for us when we started, with getting a ton of organic growth on there, and we used that to get a lot of our initial kind of customer base.
Yeah, that one where you did on the wound third, man. I think when I watched it, I think you had like 21,000 views on it. So
that's great.
That's a great return.
Yeah, and we've got some YouTube videos with 300,000 views and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of different channels there.
So what are you doing? I mean, because most of the time with a lot of companies, they just have a hot chick on there, and that gets a lot of eyes to view it. But what are you doing?
I think the trick is consistency over time. more than anything.
Okay.
We've kind of trained our audience to expect a certain type of content that's
Gotcha.
hopefully entertaining, but also fairly informative.
Yeah.
We've got a very large email base as well as social media followings. So whenever we launch a piece of content, be it a blog post or YouTube video or whatever,
an audience
we
already.
can push to that existing audience, and then they'll share it with their friends. It's been doing that sort of stuff right from the beginning. I think one thing that helps a lot though is our content on there is very personal. A lot of times it's just me talking at it. It's DIY. It's not expensive for us to produce. It's just a high quality thing that's me. And I think that stands out. Yeah, and it super stands out versus, a lot of companies that are just now kind of getting into that world will spend clearly like $20,000 putting together this awesome video that's like, check out X artists, playing a and that's awesome. We can't do it because we're small, but I think it benefits us even more to let people get to know the company. You don't really get to sit down with the owners of a lot of those companies in videos unless there's like a PR person probably behind the camera saying,
Correct,
what you can and can't answer. Being a small company that people can get to know and have a relationship with, whether they're just emailing me and asking for like, what string should I play? Or watching our videos and learning about top wrapping on a Les Paul or something like that. I don't think other companies really offer that chance to the consumer to really get involved in the product line and the family and learn a lot through it and kind of get to know the people behind it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So musically, what do you do today? I mean, because has that taken you away from music?
It has.
And stuff like this. So let's back up and talk about what are you doing, man?
Yeah,
what
so
you got going on?
I definitely, when I started the company, once it kind of started taking off, I mean, initially I was bartending at night too, so I was just going all day. So I hardly got to play guitar for the first year or two, I feel like. But that's kind of started to pick up a lot more now. Now I definitely work like crazy from 8 in the morning to 6 p.m. or something some days, but I've got time outside of that. So I actually been playing a lot of bass lately.
Cool.
I've always been a guitarist and a bassist, and I usually will like get really into one for 3-6 months and then jump back to the other one.
Yeah.
But I've been doing a lot of bass stuff. I got this 32-inch Japanese jazz bass that they're kind of hard to find, the medium scale ones. I had to import one from Japan.
Oh, wow.
And that thing's just absolutely magical.
What do you like about it? I mean,
the 2-inch scale difference makes a huge difference. I can just fly all around the fretboard. It's it's the length. We were talking about string length and how they resonate earlier. On a 30-inch short scale, like a Mustang bass, they're sweet, but I can tell a sonic difference with how the strings are resonating. They're always a lot more kind of pizzicato-y, and floppy for sure. Yeah. The 32-inch, I think, bridges that gap. The low E actually sounds kind of full and powerful, but I can still fly around. Yeah. And I'm not like 6'8" or anything, so I feel like I need
some a little smaller.
Yeah, I'm not like 5'3" or anything, but like I like when I can fly all around a fretboard. So I've been doing a lot of that. I'm a big pedal nerd, and I know a lot of guys in that world, so I get people to. It's the best part of my job. People just send me pedals to check out all the time. Yeah. So a lot of it's me just experimenting and making weird sounds. And I started in guitar, like Slash was my hero when I was a kid. Oh yeah. In 6th grade I dressed up as Slash for Halloween.
Oh well, that was a little farther than I ever.
Yeah, wow.
Were you a Slash fan as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was actually that was the whole reason why I played Ernie Ball.
Is that right? Yeah. I mean, and he's a huge guy in that regard.
Who knows if he actually even played him, but he was in the picture.
I think he does, but yeah, he's still on like all that stuff. So I loved him, and then when I got maybe 16, 17, I started getting more into like Kevin Shields from My Bloody Valentine and Tom Morello and people that are like more using their guitar as something to hit with a tree stump and see what sort of sounds come out.
Yeah. I just got turned on My Bloody Valentine actually just recently by a friend of mine, Danny Lopez. But crazy stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love the guitar as a textural piece in a band for me. Because especially these days, I'm not like a whiz at solos. I was once when I was really into Slash. But since then, I've completely let that muscle atrophy. And I just like to make a really cool sound that can fit into a certain part. But musically, I don't get a chance to really gig these days. That's the one thing. I've been sharpening my skills enough that I might, kind of be able to get into that world. But the tough part is in Nashville, it's kind of hard to find like a band that you just get to play in and play around Nashville. Every band, I've got friends that are like, hey, we could use a player here. But, once you get to talking to them, they're like, yeah, well, we are hoping to go out on a tour, next summer
we
or
practice
whatever.
6 days a week.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm like, I got a job. I'm not going out on tour. I can't do that. So, it's just for fun. But I will say when I was a kid, all of it was about, I wanted to do music for a living. And, it almost took a little bit of the joy away from it then because it was all like, how am I going to make this work? I'm going to be huge. And now I don't want to be that. I just want to play the guitar for enjoyment.
For a living.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the best
just
of all the
different.
worlds
Yeah.
for me. Yep. Yeah. So I absolutely, I love it. It's the nice balance of I get to exercise my business brain, but still be in the music world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So guitar players outside of Slash, who are you into?
Well, Kevin Shields, Tom Morello, those guys are probably huge ones. Johnny Marr from the Smiths is a really big thing. I really love Isaac Brock from Modest Mouse. A lot of indie
Modest
stuff
Mouse.
in that
I haven't
world.
heard that one in a while.
Oh yeah, they're still doing it. They're super good.
Are they really?
Yeah. But a lot of those guys these days. I mean, when I was younger, it was definitely like Jimmy Page and those sorts of cats.
staple ones, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those guys are still great. But I gave up trying to play that well a long time ago.
Yeah.
I will say though, Tom Morello is probably the last guitar player that was seemed like, oh my gosh, that's
like
just
a superstar.
something. Nobody does that and does it like that.
Yeah, where
And
like somebody that doesn't play guitar would hear a song and be like, "What the heck is that?" On the guitar solo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Those aren't a huge thing these days, guitar solos, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, well, even just the rhythmic stuff that he did.
Oh,
was
yeah.
just insane.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah. You guys, I'd mentioned, wanting to talk a little bit about direct stuff. Do we have the time to?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that'd be an interesting topic for dealers. We definitely, early on when we started looking at working with dealers, had some concern from people of like, you guys sell direct, the other string companies don't. Why are they going to buy from me and not just go to you?
Yeah.
And that's a great, valid point. I think we found a really nice symbiosis that helps kind of both sides. For one, obviously, if somebody... We have map pricing, so everything's the same pricing everywhere. We don't undercut our dealers ever. We don't offer discounts or anything like that. So they're always paying the same price. If they buy from us, they get free shipping over $20. But if it's just one set, they're going to pay $3 shipping on top of it. So it's always going to be cheaper to get one set from a dealer than it is from us.
Yeah.
But beyond that, even if you're getting 2 or 3 sets, they have to wait for the mail for us.
Yeah.
Whereas going to a dealer and just being able to grab something is great. And like players love to be able to go into guitar stores and check out new things and play around and buy a pack of strings. It's a great thing. But what we've really found is that being able to be direct and market accordingly enables us to be a lot more powerful with our marketing that trickles down to the dealer, like I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
We're not just buying magazine ads and being like, I guess we did it. We have very data-driven marketing that looks to drive ROI. And because of that, we're able to put as much money into it as we want to. That's why we can kind of grow so fast, because we profit when we put money in. But not all the people that see an ad are going to go to our site and buy. A lot of them are going to go to a dealer and ask if they have it, or they'll just kind of bookmark it in there. And next time they see something in person, they might go ahead and grab it. So, for those reasons, it's really, really worked out well having that sort of symbiosis again between them. The other thing that I love that I think gives us a huge advantage is that because we sell direct, we have a really direct line to our customers. A lot of those customers, like a lot buy through dealers, but a lot of them that buy from us, they'll email me all the time and, just share their feedback on something.
Yeah.
And so we've gotten to identify problems that I think other companies would never get to know about.
Like, give us an example.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, we have a 54 on the bottom gauge of our light gauge acoustic string set, our bronze set. We had where like, it wasn't on all of them, but like maybe 1 out of every 3 players would write us for a period of time and be like, hey, it sounds kind of dead. And it's not really resonating the way I want it to. So I was able to R&D that, and we went with a thinner core on that string in order to give it more of that resonance that we wanted. And it's been fixed since then. But that would never get back to any other people. Like I said, my other friends in the industry, when I've gone to their shops and asked them about quality things, like, why do you do it this way? They're usually, well, this is how we do it. I'm like, well, have any players said anything? And they're like, well, we don't know. Yeah. And that's because, a player buys a set from a store.
Yeah.
If something's weird or just not perfect, they have to like go back to the store, tell the clerk that they bought it from. That clerk has to care enough to tell his boss, and that boss has to care to tell the distributor, and then the distributor has to bother to tell, the rep and the distributor, and that person has to tell the manufacturer. So a lot of manufacturers that don't sell direct are completely shielded from any product issues. You know, they never hear about it. That person just doesn't buy their set the next time. The thing that I found is that they'll hear about really good stuff or really bad stuff. You know, if something performs absolutely terribly, it'll make it back to them, or if it's just great, then it will too. But for us, the valuable thing hasn't been those things. Somebody being like, my string broke. And it went like, well, strings break sometimes. It's more been somebody being like, you know, I think this set, it sounds great, but it feels like it could use a little bit more mid-range, you know? It's those people that would rate something like 8 out of 10, you know, and be like, it could be a little bit better. Because I get all those, and I get to, you know, play around and see if I can actually fix those things. And so that just, you know, makes a huge difference in the product quality overall. And it's given us this great advantage of being able to work directly with players. And that benefits the stores as well, because we have a better quality product at the end of the day.
And that's it. Simple as that. Man,
I for me personally, man, I'm good. Man.
I've heard everything. I'm sold.
Have I talked you into submission?
Actually, I'm already sold because his strings are on my guitars.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, but so
we've already succeeded.
This is a commercial for StringJoy. I actually play StringJoy myself, and you should too. But no,
and if he sends me a shirt, I will too.
That's right. I'll
do that.
I'll set a pack on my drum set. No, they are a great company. I think
Thanks so much.
You've got something going on that nobody else does. Nobody else does, and you know, you've got the vibe. You've got the social media platform where you can literally receive feedback, like you were talking about, literally in an instant basis. That I think most 90% of the guitar players out there are going to appreciate. So, you know, you're delivering a customer service that just a lot of people can't do.
Thanks so much. Well, we definitely look at it, and you know, if there's something we can do better, we try to do it better. You know, I think it'd be even more effective if we had like one gimmick, and we're like, our strings are made with dragon's blood
scale
or something. And that's the thing. You know, it'd be a lot easier. Whereas for us, it's, you know, we really try top to bottom, try to do everything better.
Gold.
And we find things that we can do better all the time. We're never perfect. Nobody is. But, you know, if we find something we can fix, we fix it. You know, I think our strings are better this year than they were last year, and they'll be better next year than they were this year. You know, it's a constant drive for improvement. So
let's talk a little bit about where customers can find you, because obviously there's a lot of people that are listening and going, man, I've never heard of him. I've never played him. He's got me sold. I want to do more research about him. Where can they go? What should they do? All your social media and your website. Give us all your information.
You got it. So StringJoy.com is a really great hub for kind of checking everything out. There's a dealers list like right on the top. It's on our top banner that you can see any of the stores near you, and find anybody or contact them. Obviously, if there's a store that you love that we're not in, you know, write us. The other easiest way, if you have any questions or anything like that, my email is scott@stringjoy.com, SCOTT@STRINGJOY.com. That's good. Write me anytime. A lot of people, you know, will just ask me directly, like, what should I play?
And
you're on the site too, so those are the easiest ways. On social, we're at StringJoy on almost everything. Facebook.com/StringJoy, Instagram @StringJoy, YouTube.com/StringJoy. Those are kind of our main channels that we really kind of are active on all the time. So find us anywhere there, connect with us, and, you know, ask questions and let us find a way to serve you.
Awesome. So everybody out there listening, if you're a music store and you want to add a cool string company, get with Scott. He'll take care of you. And if you're a listener and just a guitar player and you want to try new strings, get with Scott. Scott's the man today.
That's right. He is the man today. Hey, I mean,
he sells strings with dragon blood and everything.
And I just found out he has koozies.
We do. I only have like 7 koozies left. I bought like 500 of them a few years ago. And
he didn't bring us a love package,
man.
So, you know.
Yeah, he's got.
I'll come with a love package next time. You better believe.
Man, those love packages are awesome. But yeah, you guys. So you sell picks, and then you also. I've actually heard a lot about. You have the, you know.
Oh yeah, our string conditioner as well.
Conditioner containers a big deal
gone
too as well.
Crazy, yeah. That's just an all-natural product. It's made from cold-pressed cranberries, if you can believe it. And it does an amazing job at just keeping your strings fresh for a long time. We tried to make it. It doesn't feel greasy or anything like those like fast fret or those things that are really meant for shredders. It just cleans everything off and keeps things alive for a long time.
I thought fast fret was like a joke the first time I ever heard of it.
Oh, is that right?
I didn't actually know people like sprayed stuff on there so they could go faster. But,
well, Neil Sean from Journey uses salami. Have you heard of this?
No.
Yeah. It's a famous thing that he...
Why is Neil Sean in a salami? Like
apparently like that...
Didn't he get in trouble for that a couple of years ago?
He got in trouble with his salami.
Apparently that's the... Or as legend goes, at least, I'll say that.
All right.
That is the thing that gives him the feel that he likes out of his strings. So he'll backstage have salami and he'll sink his hands into
You gotta be
it to
kidding
get
me.
greasy and he can just fly all around the whole
When the
fretboard.
lights go out in the city, out comes the salami.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And I heard from somebody that they'd talked to his tech, and he said his guitar locker just smells
Oh, jeez, I
man.
can't even imagine.
like a
That's
meat
probably
locker.
horrible.
Well, that's what you should come out with some spray that smells
I've
like
thought about
salami and give it to
a
them.
synthetic salami
and
alternative.
just send it to them.
We call it safe salami.
the
Yeah.
Neil Schoen salami spray.
Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
dude.
All right, we're gonna get in trouble.
We
better
are. I
wind
think
down.
we're past that. But anyway,
Hey, is there anything that we forgot? I mean, anything?
I think you covered it, guys.
Are you
sure,
sure?
man? I
You
don't
gave
know.
me a chance to, talk
Okay.
ad infinitum to everybody.
Well, no, that's what
They're
we
like,
wanted,
please
man.
don't let this guy talk anymore.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Hey,
I mean, I think it was.
the only-
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the only thing is you do have subscriptions too. Like people can pay and then they can just
Absolutely. Yeah, which a lot of customers like just for convenience. We don't push
Okay.
it for everybody. I've had those subscription products that I like. I still have 700 razors somewhere,
Yeah.
anytime I
It's only
decide to
$1.
shave.
No.
Yeah.
So I don't push it on everybody, but
Yeah.
for some people, they really like that way to
Well,
be able
man,
to
we
purchase.
appreciate it. Great company. We
Yeah.
love you
Well, thank
being
you so much,
here.
guys.
And
We're gonna have to have you and Charlton in at the same
man.
time. That'd
Yeah.
be fun.
Yeah, bring your earplugs when the two of us get together.
Man.
maybe we could talk about conspiracy theories or something.
Oh, that'd be
like,
fun.
Yeah.
I
That'd be
don't
real
know.
fun.
That'd be a fun episode. We'll have to do that.
Anyway, Scott, we appreciate it.
Yes.
We appreciate it. Man, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure.
All right, we'll do it again.
The Music Retail Show.